Hi everyone, Andrew Ambrosius here again, and welcome back to the Art of Business English. Now, today we're going to just take a quick look at some collocations for decision making and planning. Okay, basically, you know that collocations are very commonly used in English by native speakers. Okay, and as a learner of English, you do need to use and understand collocations because basically they will help you to sound more native, all right? Even if you don't use collocations, not to worry. The thing is, the more that you know, even if you don't use them in your speech, when someone speaks to you or uses a collocation, at least you'll know the meaning, okay? So it is important that even if we don't use them, we understand them. And the thing about collocations is that they're very contextual, all right? You need to understand their use in context, okay? Because often they're like fixed expressions which you can't really translate. So let's have a look at what we're going to learn today, okay? By the end of today's lesson, you should be able to use collocations for making decisions and offering solutions, all right? Making plans and rejecting plans, okay? So that's the focus of today's podcast. Now, what's also important is that before we start, I would like just to give a quick definition of collocations, all right? Now, what I've done is I've taken a definition from the Oxford Dictionary, all right? And you'll see that it's not very useful for English learners. The official definition in Oxford is the habitual juxtaposition of a particular word with another word or words with a frequency greater than chance. Okay, that's not very helpful, is it, for those of you who are non-native speakers of English? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a much more practical and logical and easier to understand definition of collocations, okay? So a collocation basically is a combination of two or more words that are commonly or naturally used together. And these are used in a way that sounds natural to native speakers. So, for example, let me look at one for you. If you want to sound more native, then you need to use the correct words together. And an example of these would be to have a coffee, not take a coffee, all right? It's very common for people to say, let's take a coffee together, okay? Because in Spanish, you would say, tomar un café or tomar una cerveza, okay? But in English, we don't say take a coffee. Take is llevar. So maybe a takeaway coffee would be okay, but takeaway coffee is un café para llevar, okay? But to have a coffee, that is the correct collocation. So we're using the verb have with coffee instead of take, okay? Tener un café. All right, so now that we understand a little bit about what collocations are, we're going to start the lesson. So decisions and solutions is our first category, okay? Now, the first one is to be toying with an idea, okay? So as I said earlier, you know, if you translate that literally, it doesn't make sense because it would be estar jugando con una idea. Not sure if that really makes much sense to you in Spanish. Anyway, to be toying with an idea, this basically means to be considering something, but not in a focused way. You know, you're considering it, you're thinking about it, but maybe you're not that dedicated to it. So you're toying with the idea. I'm toying with the idea of changing jobs, but I'm not sure if it's the right decision. Okay, so you're considering changing jobs, but you're not sure. All right, so that's the first one. The second one is to unveil a plan. All right, I've got no idea how we would translate that into Spanish, so I'm just going to give you the definition in English. Now, to unveil a plan is to show or make known for the first time a specific plan. Okay, so to unveil is to show or make known for the first time. So the company unveiled its plan to investors before going public. All right, so it revealed its plan to the initial investors before going public, so before going onto the stock market. Okay, so that's how we would use unveil a plan. In the next one, we're going to look at to drum up support, okay? So a drum is a bateria. So again, it doesn't translate well, no? To drum up support. So to drum up support means to increase support for something, okay? When you want to drum up support for something, you would go to your colleagues and try and convince them to accept or adopt your plan, okay? That's what drumming up support is. So, an example, we need to drum up some support for this proposal or it will never get accepted, okay? Many politicians drum up support for votes, okay? They go around, they talk to their colleagues and they try and drum up some support so that people will vote along the lines that they want, okay? All right, let's look at the next one. Acting on a suggestion. So if you're acting on a suggestion, it's not actuando in plan, acting literally. It is to do something as a result of a suggestion, okay? So you put something in, you action something, you're doing something because of a suggestion someone made to you, okay? So an example, the boss acted on a suggestion from his sales manager to offer a discount. So in this scenario, the sales manager said to his boss, I think we should offer a discount. And as a result of that suggestion, the boss acted, okay? So acting on a suggestion. All right, let's look at the next one. To clear up, okay? So to clear up is quite simple. It's aclarar, okay? So that is to resolve or to clarify, okay? So if we have a problem or an issue, then we need to clear it up, okay? So we had to clear up the misunderstanding before we could close the deal, okay? A misunderstanding is un malentendido. So to clear up a malentendido would be to aclarar, no? To clarify a misunderstanding before we could close the deal. Remember, closing a deal is to cerrar un negocio, okay? Not cerrar un negocio porque es en bancarrota, it is cerrar un trato, no? A business deal. Okay, so moving on to the next one, we're going to look at to stick to the schedule, okay? Stick, pegarse, okay? So again, it doesn't translate well, but to stick to the schedule is to keep to a plan, okay? We want to keep to a plan, meaning we want to stay faithful to that plan and not diverge from the plan, okay? So an example, the company promised to stick to the building schedule and ensure the project would be finished on time, okay? So by sticking to the building schedule, they are making a promise that the original schedule or horario or timing for that building was a specific timing. So what they're doing is they're promising to stick to it, meaning they will be faithful and loyal to the schedule and complete the project on time, okay? Next one, cover every eventuality, okay? Cover every eventuality. So the eventuality has quite interesting pronunciation. It's not eventuality, it's eventuality, okay? Eventuality. Okay, so to cover every eventuality, basically that is to consider all possible situations and difficulties. When we're making plans or deciding on things, we need to keep all of these situations and difficulties in perspective, and to cover every eventuality is to consider them all, okay? If we consider them all, then we won't have any surprises, okay? So, an example, we need to cover every eventuality before we can give the okay, okay? Remember, to give the okay is dar el visto bueno, okay? So before we can give the okay, we need to cover every eventuality. So think of all of the possible scenarios that could happen, okay? Right, the next one is to give rise to, okay? Again, you cannot translate that literally. It would sound strange. Dar subida a. Okay, it doesn't really sound like it means anything. Okay, so to give rise to means to cause or to happen or occur. Okay, ocurrir, okay, provocar, Okay, so again, you can see very clearly that the collocation bears no resemblance to a literal translation, so you need to understand the meaning and the context. So to give rise to is to cause or to happen, and an example of this is this decision could give rise to some negative consequences. So what you're saying is that the decision could possibly cause or provoke some negative consequences or outcomes. Okay, so when we're planning or making decisions, we need to make sure that we consider the situations that could cause or provoke negative consequences, okay, or give rise to these outcomes. All right, and finally for this section, to put off, okay. Now, to put off is basically to avoid doing something or to postpone, okay, posponer. And the pronunciation, because it has off in it, is quite, it's quite linked. It's to put off, okay. All right, so it's quite merged together. It's enlazado, to put off. All right. So if we want to put something off, we're going to postpone it or avoid doing it because we don't want to do it. Okay. So we decided to put off the planning until we had adequate funding. Okay. So we decided to put off the planning until we had adequate funding because we do not have enough funding. Funding is basically money, no? Finance. Because they do not have adequate funding, then they're going to postpone the planning stage. Okay, there's no point in planning if you don't have the resources or the money for the project. Okay, so these are some collocations basically for the first part, which is making decisions and offering solutions. Okay, so as I said today, we're just going to cover a few. There are a lot more, and I do encourage you to look those up if you're interested, or send us a request and we can prepare some more for you. Okay, now we're going to be looking at the next stage, which is making plans. All right, so after we've made some decisions and we've offered some solutions, we can go forward and make some plans. All right, so making plans. The first one is to come up with an idea. Okay, now to come up with an idea is basically idear. Okay, idear is, to think of an idea. All right. Generally, to think of an idea, it's generally after a brainstorming session. All right. So, a brainstorming session is una lluvia de ideas. So, to come up with an idea is pensar en algo, or pensar en una idea. And an example would be, we came up with some great ideas for the annual Christmas party at Monday's meeting. Okay. So, during Monday's meeting, people were thinking about what they could do for the Christmas party that year, and they came up with some great ideas. Okay, so they thought of some great ideas. All right, so it's very commonly used in English. So the next one is to be underway. Okay, so underway, what does that mean? All right, underway basically means in the process of being done or carried out. Okay, so you're in the process of doing something. The wheels are in motion. Things are happening. People are working towards something. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Preparations are underway and we expect to be able to start stage 1 of the project soon. Okay, so when we're making plans, we can start to get things underway by carrying out initial planning or thinking or coming up with some ideas, okay, to put into motion, put into action. All right, the necessary groundwork. Okay, what does that mean? The necessary groundwork. Well, it's the primary or basic work. It's the foundation. Okay, before you can move forward with projects, you need to put in the preliminary work or the basic work or the foundation. Okay, so that is putting in the necessary groundwork. Okay, now the team has put in the necessary groundwork and we feel confident we have a well-organized project. Okay, so that's an example. The team has put in the necessary groundwork and we feel we have a well-organized project. Okay, so that's making plans. Again, I've just given you a couple. I don't want to overwhelm you. Okay, I want you to learn a couple and I want you to put them into practice as soon as possible. Okay, so there's a couple there for making plans. Again, there are many more, and it's very simple to look for them. You can just Google collocations with the word plan, for example. All right. Now, the next one and final one is rejecting plans. All right. So, rejecting plans. Let's go. To declare outright opposition. All right. Outright opposition. Declarar outright opposition. So, to declare outright opposition is to completely be completely against something. Okay. So, you are in no way do you agree at all. So an example of this would be the CEO declared his outright opposition to the merger plan. Okay, a merger plan is when two companies join together. So the CEO is completely against the idea of joining the two companies together. All right. So the next one, to offer constructive criticism. It's a very important skill to be able to offer constructive criticism. All right. People can be very sensitive to criticism, but sometimes as a mentor or a teacher, you need to constructively criticize your colleagues or students to give them some good advice without destroying their self-confidence. So to offer constructive criticism is to provide useful disapproval. All right. An example, even though she didn't like the plan, she did offer some constructive criticism. Okay, so in this case, the manager or woman did not like the plan being presented, but instead of rejecting it completely, she decided to offer some constructive criticism, which is giving people some good advice to help them maybe improve their proposal or their plan. Okay, now the next one is often used in meetings where there is a vote, and this is to unanimously vote down. Okay, so to unanimously vote something down means that all members vote against something. Okay, so an example, the board of directors unanimously voted down the budget proposal. All right, so in this case, every single member of the board of directors decided to vote against the proposal. Okay. And finally, the last one for rejecting plans is to turn down. Okay. Now, to turn something down is to reject or refuse. Now, very simple. No, it's a quite simple phrasal verb. To turn down. Now, with an example, we could say, we thought we had a great plan. However, management turned it down. Okay. So in this case, you thought in your mind you had a great idea or a great plan, but then when you presented it to management, they turned it down. They rejected it. They said no. They did not like your plan or proposal. Okay, so those are the three categories: decisions and solutions, making plans, and rejecting plans. Now, so you've got quite a few options there. You've got quite a few collocations to implement and study and start using in your daily business English. So my final thoughts. I know the list may seem a bit short, but it's better to learn and implement a small list and then another list at a later stage. Okay. My advice to you is to start studying the list and then make a commitment to use them, some of these expressions, in your next meeting, your next email, or your next conference call. Okay, as soon as you start to use them, they will become a part of your vocabulary. And the secret to learning collocations is to really start to understand them in the context that they're being used in, and then you need to apply them to your everyday business life. Now, I would recommend by starting with 2 or 3, as I said before. And once you've got 2 or 3 and you're comfortable using those, then you could incorporate 2 or 3 more. Well, that is all we have time for today. But as always, please feel free to leave a comment or share this article or podcast with your friends. It makes a big difference to us that we get more viewers and more listeners. Now, if you do have any questions, please feel free to contact us. We love to help. You can get in touch via our Facebook group, which is at facebook.com/the AOBE, or you could contact us directly on our website, theartofbusinessenglish.com. Now, that's all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this little mini episode on collocations for decisions and planning. And until next time, enjoy learning and improving your business English. Take care now. Bye.